So let me start by saying I am 26 years old, but I have never in my life felt young. I am a mom. I have 3 kids ages 6, 5, and 4. I got married when I was 19, and my ex-husband was 29 at the time. Right after I gave birth to my youngest, we separated and later divorced due to his abuse of me. I was scared it would eventually be my babies too. It was the hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but it was the best thing for them. So that was 4 years ago, and since then I have been living pretty decently for myself. Me and my children live in a house in my dream city. I have a wonderful job. I am a nurse now, with a bachelor's degree, and I am so happy. Happier than I have ever been. I have friends and reconnected with my dad, who my children were never allowed to meet. They love him, and my dad teared up when they called him Pop Pop for the first time. Anyway, so I recently met this man, let's call him John. John is 28, very charming, so nice, great job, and was fine with me being a mother, which is very rare for men my age. This was so important to me as my children are the most important things in my life. He himself has 1 child, 7 years old. We have never met each other's children. We decided we would wait 1 year before that. We've been going out for about 10 months already. It's getting closer to the time, and the other day we were talking about what we think about the future and things like that. The topic of marriage and children came up. I told him I am not opposed to getting married again if it made sense, but I definitely do not want any more children. I explained this because 1, purely the cost, 2, I am tired of being pregnant. I was basically pregnant for 4 years straight and had high-risk pregnancies all the 4 times, one resulting in a miscarriage, and 3, my kids are older and I know it's not uncommon to have siblings 6 to 4 years apart, but I'm done with the baby stage. I just now feel like we are getting out of it. John was very upset. He told me he imagined having a child with the person he married, even if he does already have one. He said it was important to him. I asked him, in this scenario, if it is me, that means we will have 5 children, and asked if he was fully prepared for that. He said it's not uncommon and was offended I suggested that. He ended up telling me that basically not wanting another kid is a deal breaker to him. I said fine, that really sucks, but I definitely will not be changing my mind. I make really decent money as a nurse, but 5 kids is just so much. He ended the conversation by telling me, I don't know why you care about the money so much when your ex pays you child support anyway. He told me that not wanting a kid with him means that I wasn't that serious in the first place. Not wanting another kid. Are more kids that important to people who already collectively have 4? Comment 1. NTA, it's easy for him to say he wants another child. He's not the one who has to go through the pregnancy and all of the risks and difficulties that come with being pregnant. From his attitude, I'm guessing that he also won't be a very hands-on dad since he's so flippant about the entire situation. Consider this a blessing because you got out before the kids were involved. Comment 2. NTA, it was nah until he used the never loved him manipulation. 1. You barely know him. 2. How did that work out for the mother of his current kid? Does he have 50-50 custody? Does he even know if your combined kids get along? Shouldn't that be a consideration before potentially adding another kid to the mix? Most people, once they get past the toddler years, never want to return. I hope you have your birth control on lockdown. He sounds like someone who would accidentally get you pregnant. Comment 3. NTA, you are just incompatible. You have had 4 pregnancies and 3 children. Each woman is different and you had high-risk pregnancies. If it is important for him to have a child, then he needs to be someone who wants children. He cannot just try to manipulate you into having one. I would have told him, if you are so desperate for children, go have one yourself and see how that feels. So me and my husband have been married for 5 years. We are currently F24 and M33. Way before we met, when I was 16, my mom's house had a house fire that burnt literally everything down, and sadly my childhood cat was also killed in it. I remember my mom and brother waking me up screaming, "Fire, fire, get up, get up." We crawled out under the smoke and luckily my neighbors had already called the fire department and they pulled us out. We lost literally everything. We were devastated. So that was a while ago, but it still really scares me, and I check outlets and our stove and candles and everything all the time. My husband knows this about me. So 2 nights ago I went to bed early because I am currently 34 weeks pregnant, literally about to pop. I was sleeping for a while before. For some reason, my husband decided to wake me up by yelling, "Baby, there's a fire. Fire, fire, fire. Get up." As quick as I could get up at 34 weeks, I did, and grabbed my purse. I was just in automatic shock and just autopilot and knew I needed what to grab. I made it all the way down the stairs, yelling for my husband to follow me, before he started laughing and telling me it was a joke. It took a minute for that to process. I stood there with an open mouth while he laughed and ushered me down the rest of the stairs. I sat down on the couch and just started sobbing. It was genuinely the hardest I've ever sobbed. It's like I couldn't get myself to stop and my whole body was shaking. My heart was racing and I couldn't breathe. I have never had this experience before. I was genuinely so panicked. I was so fucking upset. My husband apologized and was like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, it was just a joke." I just cried until he eventually was like, "What the duck, it was just a prank, this is really dramatic." After a few hours, I had calmed myself down and went to apologize to him. He wouldn't take it. He said I was being overdramatic and made him feel like shat for a harmless prank. I've never been good at taking jokes, I've been trying to be less sensitive, but I'd comment 1. No, you're absolutely NTA. That wasn't a harmless prank when he knows your past trauma. It also wouldn't have been a harmless prank even without that trauma because you are pregnant. The adrenaline spike from something like that could have easily sent you into preterm labor, and while I'm sure you feel ready to pop, you're not yet full term and the baby's lungs are the last to develop. He's definitely the R, but more than that, that was psychological abuse. It was not a prank, it was not funny, and it very well could have done physical harm as well. And now he's trying to gaslight you into thinking that you're the problem. Please be very careful and keep yourself safe. Comment 2. How often does your husband play pranks on you? How often does he make jokes at your expense? The fact that you were 19 when you married a 28-year-old is concerning. My guess is he is trying to put you in your place now that you are getting older and might see him for who he is. NTA. Comment 3. NTA. He literally thought this through, preyed on at least 3 deep fears, and the attempts to play the victim in all of this. Do you want that sort of influence around your child? I'm serious. Children learn by watching. If your husband is cruel enough to do this, I'd be worried what your child will pick up from him. I bought a house in a community without an HOA. I wanted my home to be my home, and that includes making it look the way that I want. I also chose a neighborhood that already has fun, colorful houses instead of just plain earth tones. I finally got to the point where I could repaint my house. I picked a soft peachy color with sage, blue, and soft and dark pink accents. Fun and colorful without being too out there. I think if you Google Coolers Blue Sage Peach you'll see a similar palette. My neighbor Paul fucking hates it and has been complaining since we started the project. He also made his opinion known that he hates our front lawn, lots of wildflowers and sunflowers, fun garden flags, a little free library, etc. Each and every time, I've told him that I don't care. Truly, I don't. And I've suggested a few times that maybe he'd be happier in a HOA community that has control over everything and forces people into having earth-toned homes. Paul got angry when I suggested that and said he's lived in his home for 15 years and shouldn't have to move. I told him, okay, well you'll have to learn to live with a little color. Last weekend I was putting in pavers that my niece and I had painted together. They're all things like ladybugs, turtles, birds, etc. in fun colors. I adore them and my niece is so excited she gets to be a part of my home. Paul came over to complain yet again, saying it was all an eyesore and my niece was here, so I just told him it's time for you to grow up and get the fuck over what I'm doing with my house. He got even pissier and told me that I have no right to talk to him this way, do I know who I'm talking to, etc. I told him to just go away and get a fucking life. If he has so much free time to bitch and moan about a colorful house, maybe he should get a hobby. He stormed off, calling me a nasty piece of work. My niece was cracking up on the side. For the record, no one in my family is uptight, we really don't care about cursing. I know some people still clutch their pearls over it around kids, she's 15, but I'm sure she says worse. Anyway, one of the other neighbors came to tell me that he's been flapping his yap about how disrespectful I am to talk to him like that. She told me that she knows he's a pain, but that he has been in the neighborhood forever and it's worth being nice to him. I don't know. Is telling him to get a life that big of a deal? Comment 1. Next time he comes by with a complaint, "Hi Paul, I put some serious thought into your criticisms over my house. I think we could come to an agreement where if you start to pay my mortgage and my bills, then I will happily adjust the aesthetic of my home to your liking. We could start August 1st? Does that work for you? Otherwise, as the person paying the bills here, I'm going to continue doing whatever I want with my property, and will ask you to not approach me or my property again for this matter." Comment 2. NTA, some people just don't understand when you try to be polite with them, so it is not your fault that you told them to F off, it is their fault. I bet other people would just fall down on their knees and praise this neighbor and do whatever he wants. Yeah, right. I always am very polite, but if other people do not understand or don't want to understand, I become very rude. This saves me a lot of time in future because these people know what I will tell them and they don't even try to pull more crap on me as it just doesn't work. Comment 3. I have such a pet peeve of people being rude then getting completely incensed when you match their energy. He expects to come talk down to someone for their house choices, but imagine if the roles were swapped, he would never put up with that. Some people never learn to not dish out what they can't take. My Sil, 41, booked a 3-bedroom Airbnb for the end of summer break and invited my husband, 36, and I, 34, to join. We agreed to pay for the half of the Airbnb after she showed us pictures, etc. We asked questions and all seemed clear. We figured she'd probably be inviting her boyfriend, and when we asked about the need for 3 bedrooms, she just said it was all that was available. Hey, whatever, right? Then, a few days later her boyfriend comes over for dinner with her and lets slip 2 other details previously left off. One was that his 6-year-old daughter would be coming. We actually didn't care about this at all. We have met her and she's adorable. Then, however, he mentioned detail number 2, the 3rd bedroom is actually just a small office space they threw bunk beds in and they planned on having my husband and I stay in it. We giggled and asked why we would take bunk beds when there were 2 bedrooms with queen mattresses. Apparently, because they wanted to give their 6-year-old her own room and the closest one to their master suite was the other queen room. Husband and I were quiet and said nothing. It was obvious we were unhappy. Sil explained their reasoning and just said it wasn't a big deal. Well, we mulled it over and decided it made no sense to pay half the Airbnb cost for the room we were getting, let alone for the fact that we were staying in 1/3 occupied rooms. So we respectfully asked her to cancel, which it's early enough to still do, and even offered up the cancellation fee if for some reason they were still charged. Sil is now angry and saying we are ruining 6-year-old's vacation. I don't feel we are wrong. This is actually not the first time she's done something like this. Husband is kind of fluctuating back and forth on whether we should just suck it up, but I'm still unhappy with the arrangements. The last bit I'll add last as it's significantly smaller. We both are pet owners. She has 2 large dogs and a small dog, we have 2 small dogs. Everyone said they were boarding the dogs. It is expensive to do so in Florida where we live. The boyfriend let slip they plan to bring their small dog along though, as the boarding costs are crazy for them since it's only 2 dogs per kennel. I suppose I'm just feeling like the costs are mounting for us and the expectations are that we will suck it up and go along with every little demand, while they bend rule after rule in their favor. Should I suck it up? Am I just being a witch? We normally get along so well. Comment 1. NTA. It's ridiculous that a 6-year-old gets her own queen bed and you get bunks in a modified office. And then you get to pay for half of the whole house? They have 60% of the people and 66% of the beds. But you can see where their priorities are, given that now you've bought, you are ruining a 6-year-old's vacation. No consideration being given to your vacation. The only reason I can see to suck it up is if the destination is absolutely amazing and it's worth whatever discomfort just for the opportunity of spending time in that place. Comment 2. NTA. Tell Sil that you will pay half of the Airbnb if you get 2 bedrooms with queen-size beds and bring your 2 small dogs. Sil can have the bunk beds and fill them with any guests and animals she wants. Then ask her how fair that sounds to her, and point out it is a better deal than she is proposing to you.